Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel. Hey, what is going on, YouTube? It's Nile with the Pop XP. I got my lovely co-host tonight on Crowdfunding Comics Creator Power Hour, Miss Cara Nicole and Mr. Neff. Lady and gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, it's doing
Fantastic.
good. How you doing then?
I'm doing good. I'm pumped tonight. You know, this is a true Creator Power Hour. We've got two powerhouse guests tonight. You know, we're going to be hanging out with Joshua Lucas, the Den of Nerds, great YouTube channel, putting out some amazing comics, just all around awesome. And I got to tell you, this gentleman, when you watch his videos, has that YouTube voice. Like, he just gets it right, man. I love it. It just grabs you. And then we got Mr. Bill Mouse in the house. You like that? Bill Mouse in the house, guys? Come on.
I do.
I see what you did there.
Very cute,
Bring
but I
that.
don't know if it's taken as like, is this dirty? Or is this like Disney evil, or is this like Disney good? You can take it so many ways.
No, it's like Bill Mouse is like Disney good. Like, he seems like a really nice guy. He's kind of jolly, you know, laughs a lot. You know.
Is he young Santa Claus? Are we gonna find out?
Yeah, he's young Santa Claus. He's got a present for everybody, you know. He's but more like the Tooth Fairy, because you usually find it under your pillow. But well, you know what? We got some great guests. I think we should dive in. We got some awesome stuff. For everyone, let's bring in Mr. Joshua Lucas. What is going on?
Hello.
It is young Santa Claus.
That's that voice.
It is. Yep. Yeah, it's so weird. After you were saying that, I was like, "What? What am I gonna do with my voice when I come on now? I don't. I'm so self-conscious now."
No, you got it. You know, there's that like YouTube voice. You know, and it's that, like, YouTube announcer voice host.
Yeah.
And you've got it, man. I love it.
I kind of can't get away from it. I started off just doing videos. I do a lot more streaming now, and I get a little bit more kind of casual and settled in a stream. But yeah, when it comes to YouTube, I kind of just, I guess, project is the best way. But my old videos are still on YouTube. You can go watch like the very first one I ever did, and it's like I'm like very uncharismatic and just kind of like nerding out and kind of explaining it and shy or whatever. So it's definitely something you just kind of gain over time. The more you talk into a microphone and shout at people on the internet. So
I remember my first video, I'm like rocking in the chair. Like our first time, like, hey, welcome everyone. How's it? Like, I was just so nervous. And like, we didn't start off with like videos. We started off straight with a live show. And it was like, oh my gosh. And like, people were flooding, and I'm like, I've never done this, but I've talked in front of crowds, like of hundreds of people. But the thought of like, you don't even know how big the audience could be. I was just like, you know, knees were weak, palms were sweaty, you know, throwing up
exactly.
I mean, I was nervous, but it's fun, man. I love doing YouTube. I love streaming.
It's cool.
And you have such a great channel. And to be honest, you know, I have heard of your channel and I've seen a couple of your videos, but then when I did my like drop stream, you know, everyone drop a link in and you know, show us what you got and let's try to spread the love and network. And yours came on there and I saw it, and then, you know, obviously clicking some things like, oh shit, this is Josh from you know, the Den of Nerds. I was like, oh, that's
the extent of the marketing I've done. Is I see some shit on Twitter where people are like, yeah, share something. I'm like, why not? You know, so
hey, Josh, if you throw that link into the private chat, I'll put it up there for
our let me do
viewers.
That. Let me grab it.
Yeah, and then so everyone knows too, all the links for the campaigns, the two campaigns we're talking about tonight, are listed in the description below. And our mods will be putting them into the live chat for you guys to check out. And just want a big shout out to the live chat out there. I see some familiar faces. I see a lot of new faces that are here for Josh, which is awesome. I hope you guys enjoy the show, like the channel. Everyone, please, if you can, click that subscribe button, smash that bell. But Josh, before we get into Unity and start diving into comics, man, what was it that brought you to YouTube that made you decide to do your own thing and do the commentaries on all this stuff?
Yeah, so it's funny because I was actually working on comics and kind of like in comics at like a very, very small level at the time when I was first getting into YouTube. And I watched a lot of YouTube, so I kind of had this thing where all of a sudden I was watching just so much of YouTube on my phone like throughout the day. And I kind of just noticed where I was like, yo, like before I'd be maybe watching like another episode of Dragon Ball Z or like something, and all of a sudden I'm enjoying people talking about Dragon Ball Z. You know what I mean? Like a little bit more. And this must have been 2015, 2016. And I just noticed kind of like a shift for me in the way I was consuming media. And I kind of thought to myself, I've got something to say. I've been a lifelong nerd, so every time I watch these videos, it's like I want to talk along with them and put my input out there. And the funny thing is, I actually didn't want to do YouTube at first because I really wanted to break in solely on the merits of my writing. And I was kind of had this thought that if I became a YouTuber and then wanted to break into comics, it would be like absurd and people like wouldn't respect it and people would, think of me in a certain way. So I put it off for a long, long time. And then it just happened to be I was just had one of those moments where I kind of like frustratingly just was like, you know what, like, man, like I don't know if I can swear on here or not, but
Oh yeah, you could swear. It's fine.
yeah, I was just
Not
kind
a
of
kid's show.
like I want to do this. I want to give it a shot. I went to Radio Shack and I actually have I always keep this on my desk. This is the like $20 or $30 blue
Snowball.
Yeah,
You can tell everyone you have blue balls.
Exactly. And I went out and got the blue balls because I had to do it in a rush and didn't look back. And you probably had this experience too. It's weird, but once you do it and you let it out into the wild and then you like watch the numbers come in and you can see like the back end, it's a really addicting kind of part of the process, and I kind of instantly was like, no, this is going to be a thing now. And just went all in on it. And it took years for it to actually be a thing. I think I messed up, probably did every wrong thing you can do on YouTube for years, but then kind of figured it out, you know what I mean, over time, and managed to, build up a decent sized channel. And the streams have been like really good for me and my community and stuff. So that's kind of the TLDR on it.
Yeah, nice. And I know what you're talking about. I mean, for the longest time, I was like really addicted of going into like the back end, looking at the algorithm, seeing like, oh, what's this? What's that? What's working? And eventually it kind of fades out and you're like, whatever, we're just having fun doing what we do,
Yeah, I go back and forth on it because sometimes like sometimes you can just know, you know what I mean? If videos like if you're in the cycle of something that's really, really popular, because I cover a lot of like the Marvel and Star Wars shows. So if one of them's popular, like I pretty much know what the views are going to be like, so I don't have to think about it as much. But when it's a slow time, I tend to think about it a little bit more, get in there, tinker, but some of that's probably just being anxious about it. But yeah, it's a cool gig, man. YouTube drives me absolutely fucking crazy, and there's a lot of bullshit that comes with it, but it is still an awesome platform, and I'm very grateful to, have grown it the way that I have. It's really cool. I'll probably never stop doing it. I might just try to do it less. I'd much rather write comics, to be honest.
Well, and speaking of comics, man, Unity. So this is right now, and we'll pop it up shortly. You have a Second Chance campaign up, but let's talk about, because you have, this is your third Unity's your third book, am I right?
Yeah, technically speaking, it would be the third book, the third crowdfunding as well. I guess if you count the part 2, it's like 4. But yeah, so I crowdfunded at a much smaller level, when I was much younger. I did like a noir detective book called Moros, and then I did a cyberpunk Robin Hood book. Yeah, and the Morals book, we got to like 3 or 4 issues, and then I actually quit to do YouTube. And I think Robin Hood, we just did the 1, and then we did like a mobile kind of comic for it on like Comixology. But I pretty much walked away from comics completely at that point and just went all in on YouTube. I mean, I was working at a restaurant, so I kind of like, was doing that and then building the YouTube, but I couldn't do all that and edit comics. And I was working for a small press publisher at the time. People I would like really close with would go around to cons and, like the whole con circuit thing. And you're, exhibiting at a table together, like 6 dudes sleeping in a hotel room. You know what I mean? So like I lived that life and did it for a while and then just kind of walked away from it for a long, long time. And so, yeah, Unity's like the first book back. And yeah, that's I guess the third book.
Oh, very cool. So what was the so you got the book, you're coming back into comics, you got a new idea, you're working on Unity. I mean, what was the inspiration for making this book? And it's a decent sized book too.
Yeah, well, it's only this is the first chapter, so we want it to be, this is another thing that as I was thinking about it, I kind of changed it. Sometimes I bounce ideas off my community too. I've got like a really close-knit community that's, been riding with me. Some of these people have been riding with me for like 4 years at this point. And so I kind of asked them and got some feedback, and I didn't want to just do the first issue. That's basically what you've read is the first one, but the Kickstarter itself is for a 5-chapter graphic novel. So like colors are in chapter 2 right now. Illustrations are in to chapter 3, and I'm like kind of tweaking the writing of like chapter 4 and 5 as we go along. So when it comes out in print, it'll be a full prologue, epilogue, and 5-chapter book. But yeah, that first chapter ballooned up, man. It got big. It got to 43, 45 pages or something like that. But as far as the inspiration, there's like all my favorite shit that goes into it. I think that's for most writers, like a lot of their favorite stuff goes in. I'm really a fan of cerebral stuff. So I've liked a lot of the Grant Morrison stuff, Warren Ellis, Jonathan Hickman, more heady, kind of cerebral stuff. But I've also loved, like Dragon Ball Z and, fun manga and stuff like that. Even there's some like Mob Psycho 100 in there. So it really is like a hodgepodge of like my favorite stuff. But it all started with a scene. I think different writers kind of have a different way to get to the juice. For me, it's usually just some kind of idea that I can't let go of. A lot of the creative people in comics, I absolutely like live in their head and spend a lot of their time daydreaming and thinking about cool stuff, whether it's Marvel, DC, or some indie book or their own stuff. And for me, it was all about this scene. It's actually in the first chapter where Xander lands and he's having the conversation with Dr. Sands in the garden. And there was something about like the fact that this guy was superpowered, but he was hiding all of this power. And there was like this authoritarian figure that came in. And there was something about like the tension of that scene of like this figure that's basically knows this guy has power, but he's like kind of accusing him of having even more hidden power, and that's somehow illegal or contradictory to like the laws of this authoritarian guy. That's like the seed of the idea. And then it just kind of grows naturally from there with like questions of like, well, what about this? What about that? And then you kind of get to what Unity is, which I think it's like a hodgepodge science fiction. Like to me, I think maybe some of those strongest influences are probably like Warhammer 40K, Judge Dredd, like the 2000 AD stuff. There's a little bit of like V for Vendetta. I think there's a little bit of like me trying to be Alan Moore and Watchmen. Just that kind of stuff. So it's a nice kind of mix of things.
That's cool. And then we got a question here from Dana Russell. So if I back the hardcover, that'll be all 5 chapters?
Yes, that'll be all 5 chapters. And the hardcover is also a special edition, so it's going to have like an appendix with like some cool lore, some maps, and some stuff like that too. But yeah, all the versions of the book are going to be that 5-chapter with prologue and epilogue. So right now I'm like trying to keep the thing under 160 pages is what I'm like trying to do, but it just grows. And I think, we got back some parts of chapter 1 and I'm like, no, I like this, but like, I just need a little bit more time here. I need a little bit more space here. And it just kind of ballooned. But I think we've got the back half under control where I can keep it to like 150, 160 pages.
How does your artist appreciate that?
Oh, bro, they
added.
Love it. They tease me. They're like, just throw some more pages on there. Like because they want it, obviously. Like they're getting paid and they make a good rate and everything. So they're all about it. And I have to, I want to, trust me, like I want to write so much, but at some point you got to think about logistics and printing, and we don't want this thing to be, I don't want to be bankrupt from, you don't want,
just to come out with an omnibus, basically. Here's 500 pages, everyone. Let's
I mean, well, man, like it could get there easily because there's stuff. I've been thinking a lot about the ending of the first volume, right? And I'm like kind of reworking it, and I have some like wild ideas for it. But there's a part of me too that's like, yeah, but maybe some more character moment, you know what I mean, would help that pay off. And so you start to like push that dope ending away. You know what I mean? Like, at least that's what's happening for me, is I'm kind of like pushing it away and just thinking more of like earning it. And it's kind of a balancing act, because I do think there's an art to being succinct. You know what I mean? I think like, you know, Kirby and Claremont are like really good at that, like pushing things, you know, relatively short page count, like a lot of shit gets covered. But I tend to write at least part of them a little bit more atmospheric. So it's it's a balancing act, but they love it, dude. They'd go to 200 if they could.
Well, that's great. Well, let's pop up the campaign so everyone can see. So right now we've got, you know, Unity Volume 1. This is the second chance campaign for everyone out there that's not familiar with this. And there's actually 3 days left to go on this campaign as of March 27th here at 9:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Daylight Time, actually. But here we go. So this is the campaign you got here. Some great tiers. I mean, the digital bundle right here with the first 2 chapters, $10. I mean, that's great for someone that wants to get, you know, introduced to this. And if the wallet, you know, if the funds aren't there right now, I mean, this is a great way to get involved with your series here. One question I have for you, man, is can you give a little, you know, I know there's a lot of viewers in there that are familiar with you, fans of you, but for, you know, a lot of my viewers that aren't, can you give us a bit of a synopsis of what they would be getting once this book is in their hands?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, first of all, one thing I'll say is if you guys go to the campaign, if you want to like try the first chapter out, what I'll do is, if you go to the campaign and you back it and message me on Kickstarter, I'll send you the first 45 pages and I'll send it to you either tonight or tomorrow. Read it. If you don't like it, just cancel your pledge. It's not a big deal. But if you do like it, you know, you can stick around. But as far as like a synopsis of it, essentially, this is a story about the world after this crazy cosmic event happens. It gives like 3,000 people powers, and it's like omega level mutant powers, like very crazy powers. And then there's like peace for a very short time, and then this crazy world war happens. And essentially I wanted to play around with the idea that, yeah, what starts as a global conflict becomes basically humanity versus gifted, and they have to figure out a way to kind of salvage everything. And they come up with this authoritarian global police force, which is the Unity Corps. And every single gifted, every person that was hit with that golden light has to either become a member of the Corps, and they're housed and trained and basically like used by the Unity Corps, or they are imprisoned, or they're killed by the Unity Corps. And the story takes place like 30 years after that war. Things are relatively stable. And there's also this character that's really like the engine of the story, and that character is Midas. He's this like gold metallic android god kind of a being. He comes from another planet, and he's there to help. But there's a lot of like, you know, mystery and intrigue. Things might not be as they seem, but the engine that drives the story is this character has this thing called a probability matrix, and the character is sort of constantly calculating how the future of humanity is affected. And essentially like you're watching in the story a plan that's like 30 years in the making from somebody that wants to kind of thwart or, you know, overtake the Unity Corps. And then you're watching how the Corps responds to that, and you're also kind of finding out what's the deal with Midas and what's like really going on here. And you know, there's a big kind of twist at the end of chapter 1, but it gets like crazier. Like I really wanted to just kind of push it into a frenzy state so that things just start really chaotic and crazy. So that's kind of like the TLDR of it. We got Stan Yak on the illustrations and Robert Nugent on colors. And they're both great. They've done a lot of industry work. Rob's doing a lot of coloring for Spawn right now. And I know Stan's done a lot of stuff, covers and some internal stuff for some Turtles stuff, I believe. So, yeah.
Nice. And the interiors, man, are amazing. The samples in here.
Yeah.
Incredible.
They're fire. It's one of those cool things. I mean, I think for writers, maybe one of the coolest things is getting pages back, because there's only so much you can do, you know, in your head as a writer. And I lack the talent to be able to like produce this kind of stuff. So when you get it back, I get hit with like Stan stuff, and I'm like, yo, like this is fire, like it's elevated, it's taking it even further. And then Rob slaps colors on it, and I'm just like, holy shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know,
Incredible.
it's awesome as a fan of the process and just somebody watching your story come to life. It's dope, man.
Very cool. Cara, Neff, you got anything?
I love the colors. I think they're beautiful. And I love that they're so cohesive. You really got a good blend going there. I'm kind of curious about the second chance. So this is the second chance. What was the first chance?
So the first chance was literally just the first version of the Kickstarter. I think there were only a couple of things that were different. Like technically you could have gotten the collector's edition and gotten a floppy as well. This is literally just for people that either didn't have the funds or weren't quite sure.
But is there like a new cover? What's different about this campaign?
No, there's really nothing. Yeah, there's nothing really different. I mean, I think the one thing that was different towards the beginning was like we were just giving people a chance to actually read the first chapter. So there was like a early bird special thing where you could get it for $1.
Okay.
Yeah, just to kind of get it out there. But yeah, other than that, nothing different. There's some other stuff I would have loved to have ready. Like we're working with a sculptor. But yeah, it just wasn't ready. So
nice. And you did good though. The first campaign, didn't you do over 60K on that one?
68K,
Wow.
817 backers only 6 months ago. So I understand the reason to do a second chance campaign. Like you were saying, 817 backers, a large total when the first chapter balloons to 42 or 48 pages. And you're staring down the gun barrel of a 150 page graphic novel. I understand the impetus to go, hey, who else wants some? Because I can get my 2,000 to 5,000 copy print run and maybe cash in on a couple more of those backers so I can sell these things.
Absolutely.
Get it to 1,000 backers. That'd be great. And you're very, very close to that. What's your current total, your backer count right now? I'd say you've got 194. So yeah, you've hit that 1,000 backer mark already. So that's fantastic. You've got 1,000 backers on the book. It looks like $98,000, $98,500 brought in total. So this is a very successful endeavor. Now, you mentioned that this is technically your fourth campaign, but third book. I'd like to know you started crowdfunding in 2015, like you said. You started crowdfunding early on, writing comic scripts. Then you became a famous YouTuber, obviously parlayed that into a successful third book. But as a writer, how did you develop the writing talent that you have into the skill that you put into Unity Chapter 1 from one of the earlier books, say like the Cyberpunk Robin Hood? What changed for you? How did you develop? Because I've read the first chapter already, and a lot of what you said makes a lot of sense. I felt very Watchmen, like The Boys, almost like a dark superhero tale where superheroes aren't necessarily the good guys. Definitely some V for Vendetta influence with an authoritarian state that kind of rules over people to keep them safe for their protection, but also imprisons the gifted that don't play by the rules. You know, it's a fairly familiar sci-fi setting, but I think there is some nuanced writing in there. And you were mentioning wanting to have character building moments, and delay the gratification of that payoff for that ending. And I think that's a great idea, because there are some nice touches. There are nice moments where I gain some character insight in the first chapter, but I would love to see more of a deeper examination of these characters, like authentic motivations, like their internal, their guts, you know what I mean?
For sure.
But yeah, how did you parlay your success in Cyberpunk Robin Hood into a 150 page graphic novel Unity? That's a huge, ambitious leap for an author.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is like I didn't want to have what happened before happen, which was like I felt like we had this really cool world and, you know, we had a good team, but it's just hard to like keep momentum with a thing, you know, and making comics is hard. And, you know, it's just I didn't want to do it that way. And originally I was thinking about doing it that way. And I was kind of pushed in the direction of going full on with the story, a little bit from my own community and a little bit from the idea of like, no, I want that beat to be there. But as far as like how to like work on the craft, basically, it's funny because this might sound sort of counterintuitive, but with what I try to do with YouTube a lot, I'm actually studying story a lot. It's a different context, but it's still like story and like how to and like how to drive how to drive attention, how to keep threads open, how to sort of time a thing, you know. And I think on top of that too, there's a measure of this where I'm watching all the Disney stuff, right? And I'm just like getting really frustrated by what I consider to be their ineptitude at writing in a lot of ways, right? So I'm like kind of critiquing and also building what I would have done, you know, with those things as I'm doing it. And I'm feeling like this kind of constant itch to kind of get back in to writing. But I think, you know, like writing is one of those things where even at the end of like issue 3 or 4 of Moros, I was like twice the writer I was when I wrote the first issue.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can level up between from one issue to the next.
Yeah,
how deep you go into that and how well you tie it together. I just, you know, I'm very familiar with that, like that one pivotal script transforming you from the writer that you are into the writer that you are becoming. And I'm just wondering, like, does 150 pages of comic book do that? You've written all of it, right? Like Unity's
I've written all of it. Like I've written all of it multiple times. And what I mean is like there was a version, I think I started this book, and my community would know better than me. I think I started talking to them about this in like 2021. You know what I mean? So I'm like kind of building it behind the scenes. And originally I was going to go back to my old publisher with this because it was one of those things where like I kind of felt weird where I don't think I'd like left him in a lurch, but I was doing a lot, right? And then I just kind of walk away and I go do YouTube. But I always was like, okay, well, now YouTube's going well. I want to come back and I want to do a book with Sean and I want to, you know, get back into comics. So I think I was building it around that time and I was going to like pitch it to him and kind of build it out that way. But yeah, I've written it all the way to the end multiple times. But I do think there's a measure of like, I consider editing to be a crucial part of writing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I was an editor before I left for YouTube. I was editing. So I was writing my own stuff, but I was editing like 5 different books. And so I was learning a lot about the craft from like a different perspective. It really helped me with my own stuff. And Unity, because, you know, we did well on the first campaign and we're able to just, I don't want to say like take our time, but we're able to cook. Like we've got the time to cook. We've got, you know, the resources to cook. So there was a lot of Unity. Like there were probably 3 lesser versions of it that we could have put out. But as I'm looking at it, as I'm editing it, and, you know, there's multiple things that kind of go into a comic, but you got to be able to like fucking read the thing. Like it has to be a flowing read and you have to be able to like just piece the story together. And I think even Unity itself, you can kind of tell it finds itself a little bit in like 6, 7, 8, you know, page 10. It starts off a little.
Yeah, it has tempo. Yep.
Yeah. So I just think that, like it's just been a crazy amount of work on the book. Like I don't know what it's like for a lot of professionals, but I would imagine because there's almost a factory kind of mindset. Sometimes I bet people don't necessarily get that much time with a script or with a book to really like let it sit and then think about it and alter it. So I've kind of been grateful for that because I've been able to kind of tinker.
Now? Who's editing?
Oh, there's no editor. I'm just editing it. Yeah. So, and I honestly, like, I'm open to working with editor. I have a little bit of, doesn't play well with others, a little bit, just, you know what I mean? Like a little bit in the creative sense, but I'm also like, I think just as you get older, like you become aware that like, no, you need to see it through other people's eyes. And, you know, you do need to see that. Another kind of strange benefit was like showing this chapter to the backers and people early. I was able to get a lot of feedback on stuff that like they want to see, you know, and like what are they curious about with the book, or what were the things that like their takes, you know, led them to. And so I think there's even been some stuff like I tweaked a little bit of chapter 2, definitely tweaked chapter 3, and I think what I'm building in 4 and 5 is based off a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, I got a question.
How long? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I had a question, and there's a good question here from Brian Blevins, and I just wanted to get Josh's take on this, if you don't mind. It says, Josh, what do you think needs to happen in mainstream or in comics in general to help stabilize the crowdfunding indie secondary market? Is it just media quality, or is it just not an investment?
I don't know if I totally understand the question. I mean, I can definitely address what I think's wrong with mainstream comics.
So secondary market is like, where obviously you're selling now, right? So you're like the first portion of it, and then the fans and stuff will have the books, they could resell stuff of that nature. So the secondary market is more of the collector market.
Okay, sure.
So he's asking if you have any opinion on maybe the collector side of like your books and the crowdfunding books, if you have an opinion on it. Maybe you don't have as much experience in that end of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I could offer like a lot of wisdom with regards to that. I mean, that's like a whole part of the process that I was a little bit removed from when I was an editor. And it's something that I'm going to have to kind of go through and learn on my own. I'm going to kind of lean on a lot of people I knew, from back when I was doing it. But hello, what's up?
Hey,
man?
Sorry.
No, it's all good. I noticed a new person. I heard a bell and then noticed a new person.
There he is.
There's the Tooch. The Tooch is here.
Yeah, I don't know if I could give a great answer on that. Part of me thinks he's maybe asking about the relationship of retailers.
He's asking about the collectability of indie stuff. He's saying, what can we do to make the secondary market, the collector's market for the indie stuff more successful? And I
don't think
Billy
it exists,
knows. Really. Yeah, but Billy, I would say, knows really well how to make something collectible. So if you're going to be doing an indie book, you have to make it popular, right? Like it has to be something that is popular, has a following, and has demand. Then you have to create something that is scarce, make scarcity of that demand, like Billy's very rare covers. Then get those graded and isolate them, make them pristine, right? And then do a run of 10. But those are prestige items. I don't know if that there's going to be a collector's market for all of these indie books at the number one, because it's such a disorganized market in general, right? Like the competition in the indie scene as far as quality ranges the entire gamut from very crude, very rough to highly polished and very well produced. How do you measure that against itself? You really can't. It's a hodgepodge. That's why I think the idea of it being a secondary market means that, it's almost impossible to make it as an entity have a collectability market within it. It's going to be things like Billy or Jimmy Palmiotti or any of the I can't remember the name right now, Merc Magazine. They're going to have Jamie Tyndall. They're going to have prestige covers that are going to be very highly demanded, and those are going to be investments. Everyone else, I mean, I think that's just a fandom, right?
Yeah.
I think it helps. I think it helps if you can get into comic shops too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because crowdfunding is, it's a wonderful universe, but it is also super small. It's the fan. There are so many people that I'm shocked that I meet at comic conventions and things like that never bought anything on Kickstarter ever.
Oh yeah,
that or makes Indiegogo. Sense, though. They've never done it. So, we're starting to get in comic shops this year, and we'll see how it works.
Bro, she's already in comic shops.
Come on, you've been in comic shops since 1994. It doesn't count. It doesn't count, man.
No, but now we're taking those crowdfunded books, we're breaking them down, though, because they're such small print runs, and we're going to break them down, put them on, more affordable paper, break them down into single issues, and lower the price as sort of a direct market edition. And I think if you
make them accessible.
Yeah. Yes. Because again, so many people do not like, like I've been doing this for 4 years now, I think. And people are like, wow, when did she come back? And I'm like, holy crap. I said, we've been kicking ass for the past 4 years, crowdfunding wise. But again, there's a lot of people that just, I heard of Kickstarter, but I don't buy it. I don't follow it. I don't do any of that. So,
what's your long-term goals, Josh, with, you making your books and crowdfunding? I mean, do you have a roadmap?
I don't necessarily have a roadmap for what I'll do with the book. I mean, I have a roadmap for the story. I am potentially even gonna pitch to publishers, to be honest. And because I think like my sort of issue, it's funny, it ties a little bit to the whole Kickstarter comic scene disconnect, but like I think for me, I'd like exposure in that scene a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like I think I could definitely benefit from that. So that's something I'm potentially looking into. I do see like, I mean, to be honest, like I love the world, man. I love the world. I love the characters. I want it to, you know, live past the comic, but I want the comic to be like the bedrock of it. So like, I really love the relationship between manga and anime. And I think one of the things that they get right that we don't is like the relationship between those two forms of media is like very copacetic. So, you know, an anime is usually a great gateway into a manga, and a manga is usually far ahead of where an anime is at. So it kind of works as this perfect gateway drug into it, and then it kind of folds back on itself because you're anticipating the animated adaptation of that thing, you know, that you read. So it's like a really cool kind of copacetic thing. So I want it to remain creator owned regardless of what the future is for the book, so that I can maybe have some input on those kind of creative decisions. But I think some kind of like anchored transmedia, whether that's like an animation thing or you know, who knows where that could be, but I'd love it to be animated. That's kind of, that would be like a dream come true.
That's
It doesn't
awesome.
hurt to pitch to Image then.
Yeah, no, I'm
you know?
definitely gonna. Yeah,
There's
definitely gonna.
there's a
pitch it.
bunch of publishers though. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could really pitch this to. I mean, you can go Image, Boom, Vault. You know, I mean, Neff knows probably no better than me. But I mean, there's so many smaller publishers out there that, you know, do pretty well and have some really cool stuff that, you know, it's kind of endless really if you want to try to get that publisher route. One thing I just want to let everyone know too, again, everyone, the Unity Volume 1 Second Chance campaign, the links are in the live chat, the links are in the description below. Check it out. Also, if this is something you like, obviously back it, but if you can, as we always recommend, grab those links, copy and paste them, throw them in your social media, share them out. Even if it's not really a book you like, help support the indie community and just get them out there. You may know one person, you might know 50 people that would back this book. So if you can, please spread the word for Unity. And Josh, you brought something up, and we love talking about it. And our other guests haven't arrived yet. So what's wrong? What's your thought on the issues with mainstream comics?
Well, I mean, I think it's multifaceted for sure. But I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I think a little bit that it's probably like the conversion of two main problems. Like, number one, there's not a growing market of comic book readers. Like, it seems like that market has just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And there's multiple ways that went wrong, and multiple ways I think they could have capitalized on some of the live action stuff a little bit better. But I think it's also because the consumer just on the whole feels like they're being taken advantage of, you know. So whether it's you know, just a whole bunch of rebooting, all these number ones, all these events, or whether it's just like, let's just say less stellar teams, you know, on books, it just feels like a lot of the great talent went away, did, you know, Hollywood stuff, or is doing their own thing. And the mainstream big two, which I do think are like really important. I think they're kind of foundational to that because they're basically the gateway for normies. I think that they have seriously dropped the ball on making it feel great, you know what I mean? And again, there's a lot of comparisons you can do from like manga and American comics. I mean, I think top 5 wealthiest people in Japan are mangaka, and like that, it's like revered over there. And you just have a lot of cultural differences. And you know, America has just not let's say upheld a lot of those standards and practices, and I don't really think they're trying, man, you know, in a lot of ways.
They're fun anymore.
Yeah,
I don't think you're fun. Like, you don't get, my thing is, it's rare that I read a DC or Marvel comic, I tend to go to the other publishers if I'm gonna actually pull something off the rack. And you know, I read, you know, Superman, Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man, stuff like that. There's no escapism in it anymore, and I
Sure,
find
yeah.
it a lot of this the writing is very boring and drab. It's
Yeah.
such conversational. The action's not there. It's like they're just always giving me a message, and I don't want a message. I just kind of want to be entertained, be like, that was pretty badass, cool, can't wait
Yeah.
for the next book to come out. But it's like the same rhetoric going through, and just they've lost their way. And you hit such a key point, is that DC and Marvel are important because they have the characters that brought hundreds of millions of billions of people, you
Yep.
know, into comics and into the movies now and all that. And they did. I think when the first wave of Marvel movies were coming out, they missed a major opportunity
Oh man, they
in
screwed
bringing
up
in a
so
bunch of
much.
readers. The books didn't match with what was going out in
Exactly.
the theater.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, you're going, you know, my buddies here where I live, I know a lot of comic shop owners, and that's their biggest gripe is they shot themselves in the foot. We had slews of people just coming into the store looking for this. They want this, but you know, Iron Man wasn't Tony Stark. The storylines didn't match. Like, things just didn't make sense.
Mhm.
And so they tell people like, well, you know, you kind of have to go to the back issues for these. But they didn't want that. They didn't want to buy old comics. They wanted the new stuff. And they wanted the new stuff to look like what was in the theater that they liked so much.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's why they could have done re-releases on the old original issues that do line up for the most part, because we know it's all in there. Re-release those as, you know, with new covers
Yep.
and go that route. But it's almost like they missed something. I mean, look at DC. DC's movies are just like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
But, you
Mhm.
know,
Well, they're
X-Men-
good for like streaming at home because you're like, I'm glad I didn't pay, you know, $40.
Yeah, and you can look at the phone a little bit. Here
Yeah,
and there.
right. And I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
I can leave if I want and come back.
Well, a few
later,
a few years back, Dan DiDio was lamenting at one of the retailer conferences that their reprints of their old books were outselling their new titles.
Right. Yep.
They're still doing that.
And like, you
Yeah.
think does that tell you something? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
wow.
people
I
will
feel like-
buy you give them what they want.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I also think that it should be merit based. Like, I mean, there was a time too. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a time where things were kind of looking like they were going to turn around when Hickman was on Avengers and doing all those, and the lead up in to Secret Wars. Like, they were actually like doing some pretty good sales numbers, and then Hickman's final Secret Wars gets delayed, and they launched the all new, all different line before we even know like how Secret Wars is going to happen. And I've seen like articles and people speculate that like Hickman kind of killed Marvel because their sales were like kind of cut in half from that point, and that's when you saw like the 40K books become 20K books, and a lot of that just kind of never recovered. And but I think honestly there needs to be like actual consequences, and they're printing way too many books, and if it's not selling, like, it should be canceled, and there should be a plan to make something that is like really, really attractive. So like there's some books that are doing that now. Like that Transformers book is crushing it. The Thundercats book is crushing it.
Mhm.
The second issue of Ultimate Spider-Man outsold issue number 1 of Thundercats, and that thing was like doing pre-sale records, and like people were going crazy. So like it can happen. It just feels so rare. But I think when you see books perform like that, it shows that there's a potential audience there. They're just sort of wised up. They're not going to come for the new number 1. They're going to sniff it out. They're going to know whether this is something worth their money and time. So yeah, I feel like they could be doing way better for sure.
I agree.
Well,
I agree.
it's
And,
interesting
we got, just really quick, guys, we got our other group of guests in. I'd like to get them on the screen. Josh, I'd love for you to hang out with us if you can. If not, no problem. But you know, we could see what their thoughts too are on this as well. So
Yeah.
everyone, please
I love
welcome.
this conversation. I really do.
I know. I could talk for hours on this.
It's like we
Everyone,
talk
please
about
welcome
every
Bill
day.
Mouse to the show, Steve Stern, and the wonderful Miss Cat Mouse. How are we doing?
Hey, y'all.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome.
Glad
It's
to
a
be
party
here.
now.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a party now. We're talking, you know, some of the issues with mainstream comics as we were waiting for you all to come on. And this is the first time we've had Josh on before. Steve, this is the first time we've had you on, so welcome. We've had the privilege of having Bill and Kat on just a few weeks back, actually, with a previous campaign, and we'll talk about theirs tonight. We were just kind of talking about the hit or misses with mainstream comics. I wanted to get Josh's view on that.
Yeah. So did you guys hear some of the stuff? And you're probably
I heard a little bit.
Yes.
Oh no, I was driving. I was listening to them on my phone. I'm like, this guy's fantastic. I gotta.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I'd be interested to know your thoughts on the whole.
Well, I've been
It's
in the
like
business.
for mainstream comics, especially like for Western stuff, like I have two main issues usually with comics nowadays is that there's usually too many paywalls to become a fan in the first place. And then the writing just isn't escapism anymore, like you guys were talking about, where it's like it always has to lead back to something where it's like, yeah, it's rooted in reality, but it's just not fun to read anymore. Where it's like, I don't want to be where the characters are, or I don't want to be these characters, because I'm just like, oh, this sounds like their life sucks. I don't really like it that much anymore.
Yeah. Hey, Bill and Kat, do you guys want to try logging out and coming back? You guys are freezing up a bit, and the audio's coming in and out.
Yeah, we can do that. I noticed that. Let me refresh the old Wi-Fi of the house, and I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
All right, so we'll harass Steve for a while.
There you go. Harass Steve for a minute.
So,
Mr. Stern, I am really interested in hearing your thoughts on this.
yeah, well, okay. Since I'm, probably the oldest person here, and I've been reading and producing comic books for several decades, it's a very complex question to answer. When I was growing up, there was just, believe it or not, DC. Marvel didn't even exist yet, right? And then it became Marvel and DC, the two big monolithic companies. And flash forward to today, you have two of the biggest, if not the biggest, media companies: Disney with Marvel and Warner Brothers with DC. Steering the helm on the mainstream comic book world. And boy, I'll tell you, when you consider all of the socio-political factors that have played into the modern comic book, right? And the economic factors, and the idea that comics are sort of like lost leaders to movies and TV series. It's so damn complex as to wonder where is the state of the mainstream comic book today? It's like a moving target. And I heard what you were saying about specific guys, like, what Hickman did on certain books, and what Jason Aaron did or didn't do on Avengers, right? So basically what the big companies do is they'll get a big name creator, writer in this case, right? And they'll put them on a run of books just to see if that creator pulls people, right? Isn't that what's happening? Isn't it more about that than story content?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, to a degree, for sure.
A lot of it, yeah.
I mean,
what deep fields have you guys been walking through while we were gone?
Yeah,
it's about to get really depressing, Bill.
Oh no!
And big shout out to Bun Sauce. Big shout out to Bun Sauce. I like this character here in the chat, but he says, guys, let's cut through the bullshit. There can only be one who settles in those glorious mounds. I will fight you all.
God almighty.
Bun Sauce is a wild one, that's for sure.
I know. And then he had another great comment here. It's all meh now. Messages are good in art, but not when they are just pushing an agenda. Which I think is all forms of entertainment. You know what? One thing I watched that I'm really enjoying is Shogun. Is anyone here watching Shogun?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I hear good things.
Oh my gosh,
Shogun.
Yeah,
it's founded on the Hulu.
Haven't seen.
Found it on the Hulu.
Well, I'll start watching it next week. It's like I want to watch it, but I don't like.
It's the investment.
Right? Aren't we always working? Like shit. I got my TV here.
Yeah.
I know,
my head's gonna be down, and I want to sit next to you.
Yeah.
You've got your 12 hours of drawing to do, right? So
yeah, Bill, right? I mean, you're like
exactly.
And I gotta get this damn thing done. So you're just
yeah.
So someday.
That you know what else? I'm enjoying X-Men '97.
Oh yeah.
But But you gotta
Thanks.
watch that weekly. I was like, there's only 2 episodes. And it ends with like, that part, and I'm like,
But it's great though. It's
I
great.
know,
That's the
so
same thing
good.
about Shogun is that it's great when like I'm kind of like pissed. I'm like, man, I really want to just binge all this. But then
Yeah.
you get that like, all right, at least I have something to look forward to. Because back in the day before streaming, I mean,
Yeah.
you had like the option where it was like when you knew something was on, you went like you were not going to see this thing ever again. Like you had to make sure you were home for stuff. And at least with the streaming services doing weekly releases, at least it gives you a little of that where we're spoiled, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm not just gonna have a couple chips from the bag. I'm gonna go hide in my basement and devour thing, rip it open, and lick
That's
the salt
'cause
out.
you live in the
That's what I want to
future,
do with
that's
my consumption, you know. But I do like being able to go back a little bit and look forward to like, yes, it's Tuesday, a new Shogun's coming out, or
Yeah, no, it's a
X-Men or
good way to
something.
chart your week, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It-
Remember,
you know,
like
I
the
enjoy it.
Sopranos, you know, like Sunday night, Sopranos is
Right,
on.
right.
You go to my in-laws' house and eat and then watch the Sopranos.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Well,
That's the way we were with Game of Thrones. That's the way we were
same.
with that. We
Mhm.
actually got together as a group and watched it. Like,
Oh, yeah,
every
dude.
episode
Watch
was
parties
amazing.
were
We
huge.
turned it into pizza night.
Yeah.
Me and Steve used to watch a $6 million man.
Hey,
There you go.
Remember the $6
Leave
million
it to
man?
Beaver.
But you know,
Hey,
in
Steve,
the
ain't nothing wrong with Steve Austin. I tell you that.
No, sir.
you know, in the age of streaming, it really has created a golden age for content creators, hasn't it? Have you ever seen such amazing content? And it keeps on coming.
Yeah.
I could mention a few things. There's something I want to watch. You mentioned Game of Thrones. The people who are involved with that have
Oh,
a
the three body
sci-fi-
problem?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
told
so good.
it's pretty wild. I've got to get to that too. It's just finding the time to watch
Well,
this stuff.
that's the key. That's the key.
Yeah, that show's
There we
awesome,
go.
man.
Yeah, and Guy
Gary
Ritchie has an
G-Quest.
interesting thing on Netflix. I think it's called. Is it called The Gentleman?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I heard that was really good too.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So do you guys think that's part of the issue with comics as well? Is like if you think about it, like there's so much that's at your fingertips and
Oh, dude,
a lot
there's
of
so
it's
much content out there.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
and
bad
cheap.
enough. It was bad enough when we were only competing with the latest PS5 game or PS4 game.
Yeah.
Or competing with video games is already a huge
Sure.
obstacle, you know,
Yeah, you have
especially
to
when it comes
compete with
to bringing
everyone
in
ever.
new readership.
Yeah.
From a younger age.
I also think that, I think Josh, you were saying that the audience was shrinking. If it wasn't Josh, forgive me. But it's also that they're making these comics for an audience that really doesn't exist.
Sure.
You know, we were
Right.
talking about you're talking about The Sopranos, you're talking about Game of Thrones. The audience is there for that, for good stuff. They
Right.
seem to be focusing on a small dichotomy of topics and of lifestyle. I mean, you had Superman getting a pedicure. Talk about that. How
Yeah, but
many
his
Right,
nails
right,
get beat up
exactly.
hitting those buildings and punching people. Like, let the guy have a spa day, Billy. Come on.
like, they're never gonna clip his nail.
Yeah, exactly. How are they going to do that? Right? Exactly. Does he have to take his eye?
That
and
sounds
rose
like
it
a
all off
fantastic
himself?
story for like a one-page parody, but not for an entire book.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like a little bit of like farming for other media, right? So like if you think it the way that a lot of these are being written nowadays, I wonder if as opposed to trying to make like just a dope comic that people get enthralled with, they're trying to set stuff up that could work in a show or that could be pulled for a movie or something like that, you know?
Yeah, but the movies are bombing though.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
Right, exactly.
like-
And they're not, this is like 11 or 12 movies in a row.
Yeah,
you know?
like
It's
the Marvels. No, that's the Marvels. The web. What's the one with
Madam Web.
Madam Web. Madam Web.
that fun?
Yeah.
And then they're blaming men, right? They're blaming
Well, see,
young
here-
comic book.
You can't make a movie that's not for me and then get mad at me for not going to go see it.
And
Yeah,
they're hard to
exactly.
I'm not out there picketing the movie or anything. I'm not saying don't make it, but don't get mad at me for not supporting it, and maybe get mad at the audience that you were shooting for not supporting it.
It's so funny,
100%,
though.
because that audience didn't come out to see it. If you made
Exactly,
it,
it's their fault. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
their fault for not supporting it, not our fault.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, I didn't know that movie was coming out till like 2 weeks before it came out. Like all of a sudden, it was Madam Web, everything, and I was like, "What is this?"
I feel like they just
Yeah,
wanted like
they
a
did-
rush of promotion because they
They
knew
did
it
the
sucked.
same thing with Blue Beetle, where it's just like I was like, oh, it's out, and I just saw that it was like streaming, and I was like, oh,
I kind of like Blue Beetle.
But remember, they have to keep making content in order to keep the IPs.
True.
Exactly. That's true too. That's a big truth. That's like the crazy Fantastic Four movie a little while back. Remember the one that's only a bootleg VHS?
Yeah,
it's
the studio kind of
so
forced
crazy though,
that.
because I wish they would just make something where it's like League of Legends does it really well, where they just do the little little animation stuff, where it's like, why don't they just do that to keep the IP, or just like short movies that are like 30 minutes, something where there's an actual good tight story, and then they're just like they can pull it all into 30 minutes, as opposed to getting this huge production for an awful movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you would assume that it has to. I mean, the other shoe kind of has to drop. Like if you're looking at, because like I literally cover like the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff. You know what I mean? Like as a job, and so it's like it's beyond obvious that it's not working in its current form.
Right.
So like they have to pivot. You know what I mean? And they have to find a way to shake it up. So
people are finally deciding what they want. The market always decides. You know, what's going to fly and what's not going to fly.
You know, they say that there is superhero movie fatigue right now, and I think that's pretty evident, right? But you know, everything is cyclical. Back in the day, mystery movies were really the hot number. Nothing lasts forever in this life or in this media, right? So when things start lagging, as they inevitably will, these smart companies have to pivot and they have to find new audiences. And tell me they have
new talent, I think too.
Yeah. So it's a churn. It's a constant churn. The comic book business is not what it was 10, 20, 30 years ago or 5 years ago. And the same is true with movies. So we live in a world of constant chaotic flux, but we have to make it work because we have no alternative to this.
Yeah.
But I think, Josh, I think you were right, though. I do think a lot of the books and stuff out now, it is like script farming. It's, what can we put together? What can we plan on adapting?
Right.
And, with superhero movie fatigue, I think it's more just bad movie fatigue, to be honest.
Thank you. That's how I would phrase it at this point.
If they really respected source material, if they respected source material, they got the right talent in to do it. Having, the people behind the scenes actually have to be passionate about it. They have to know.
Absolutely,
Right.
If you get those people behind it like they did before, I mean, God, how excited were you when those movies were coming? I mean,
those people.
I never thought I'd cry seeing, at a freaking Marvel movie, but they actually were like tear jerkers on top of it. It was such an escapism. You forgot you were in the movie theater.
Yeah, for sure.
For the 2 hours you were there.
And that's they actually set up the anticipation for you to care about what these characters are going through, as opposed to trying to shove in, like trying to catch up with Marvel or Marvel trying to outdo itself. It's just like, this whole thing took 10 years. The next thing's going to take 10 more years because we actually care about all of these characters and what they're going through. They can't just bring in a new character and expect us to have the same level of empathy or caring for them when it's just like, I have no connection to this character yet. I don't know what they've been through, but I'm supposed to care in like 2 minutes.
That's like me having the same feelings towards the new Khan as I would towards Ricardo Montalban in the original Khan. It's like there was no weight behind that character for them to feel as strongly as they did during the movie, during Star Trek 2.
And then also and what about the fact that how many multiple actors have played Spider-Man? Is it sort of like a whiplash thing here? I mean, 1 minute.
That's a total IP thing. That's what they did for so long for a few of those movies, where they're just like, nope, we need to show another movie out so we can keep the IP, and then they change the actor.
Yeah, I mean, and how great was it what Favreau did with and Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man?
Right.
Oh, that's lightning in the bottle. Right? Yeah, for sure.
Growing up, Iron Man was cool, but he wasn't Spider-Man.
He wasn't my top dog.
He was Shellhead.
Yeah, but he wasn't the literal pillar of everything.
Yeah, that was lightning in the bottle. That whole production.
When that movie came out, I was like 12. And I saw it and I was like,
Matt, you're killing me. You're killing me, bro.
hey,
what's
I've been
like
alive
what's
for
up?
2 minutes. It's okay.
You know what's
But you
like
know
a
what's so great about him, about Robert Downey Jr. is he made you fall in love with that character.
Oh yeah.
No matter how
Yeah,
flawed he
100%.
was, because remember him from the
Yeah.
very beginning to the end of Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, even
Yeah.
then when he says,
Yeah.
"Oh hell, I am Iron Man," you know, I mean that
Exactly.
was rock star.
Ad-libbed.
Oh yeah,
moment.
yeah.
It's
I
ad-lib.
signed up and I bought the T-shirt and I got the sticker. You know, I was
Yeah,
on board.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like this totally cool dude, but they open the movie with him being absolutely wrecked and kidnapped. And it's like, I didn't expect the superhero movie to start this way. It's like it has rewatchability to now. And it looks gorgeous
Start yelling,
still.
Josh.
Yeah,
I know he's
Well,
trying to egg me on.
I got to tell you, a real head spinner to me is Pedro Pascal as Reed
Oh, yeah.
Richards. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
wow,
see
what
it.
a bit of casting, huh?
Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal is
What is
fantastic.
that?
Yeah.
I
Well,
like
also-
Pedro, but I don't see him as Reed like at all. There's been so many picks
Right,
too.
right.
Like he was literally the worst out of all the picks that they had. But look, he's a good actor. I think he's gonna give it his all, and we'll see.
Yeah, but it's very interesting casting is all I can say. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for
about
sure.
50 pounds. He's all puffy, his face, and
Yeah, they'll
Hey,
probably
well,
just
he's
de-age him.
made a
They'll
lot of
do some
money on these
digital stuff.
movies. He's well fed right now.
I guess so. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like he took a couple vacations. Kind of
Yeah, he's killing
expensive
it.
muffins.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk, bad entertainment or whatnot, I mean, we could talk about, I don't know, what could we talk about? Zen Bounty Wars.
There you go. What's up with
Hey,
this?
what is
guy?
this?
Segue.
Huh? What
What
is
the
up
heck
with
is
this
going on
guy
with this
here?
thing?
Looks cool.
Nice
I think it
segue.
looks sweet.
Yeah, so we got Zen Bounty Wars #1.
Yeah.
Word.
All right, gentlemen, what do we how long is the video?
Oh, it's like 2 minutes. It's just a little trailer.
No,
A little
it's
short
not
trailer.
even 2 minutes. It's a minute.
Like a
Play
minute
it.
something. Yeah.
Like a minute?
Play
All
it.
right,
It's
we'll-
cool.
Yeah.
We'll play it. We'll play it.
Cool.
All right. Nice.
Yay! It was filmed in IMAX.
I can tell. All right, so
I tried to put a budget on this thing.
there you go. So what do we? All right, so we got the Zen Bounty Wars Intergalactic Ninja. What is going on with this book now? With this one that you guys have crowdfunding here?
Okay. Okay, I'm the writer of the book, right? I'm the co-creator of Zen way back in 1987. That's how long this book's been around, right? And this book is an exploration of what it means to be a bounty hunter. This is a theme that has permeated Zen for like the last 10 years. There's been several books in which he plies his trade as a bounty hunter. And it's basically a story where Zen is questioning if he should remain in that profession because there's a really dark underbelly to it. And during the course of this story, there's just an epic bounty war going on between two different warring space lords that Zen and Nira-X get caught up in. And it's a fun read at the same time because Zen is always
perfect
a fun read.
boilerplate. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Nice. So where were you originally published back? What did you say? 1987.
I was
Right.
living in Maine. I met a guy named Dan Cody,
Mhm.
and Dan and I put out the first issue of Zen Intergalactic Ninja, #1, in November of 1987.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Turtle
I graduated high school when you came up with Zen.
I was 3.
There you go. There you
Me
go.
too.
You too? I knew
Me
it.
too.
Yeah, yeah. It's been
Yeah.
I did
been
not
an
exist.
it's been
Yeah,
look. He had Zen *1. It's been an
That's right.
amazing
Yeah, that's cool.
ride. I don't know how
Yeah.
familiar you may be with Zen, but he did spawn, as it were, 2 Konami Nintendo video games. There were 2 video games based on Zen.
Nice.
Mhm.
And there was a line of action figures from the Just Toys company and a whole bunch of other licensed items. So we've been really blessed, with a little independent comic book that we self-published, became something that, overtook our lives, and it basically changed my life.
What was going on in the Northeast in the mid to late '80s with you guys and Ben Edlund and the
Kevin
Turtle
Eastman,
guys? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah, it
New
was in
England
the
is.
air. It was in the air, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. The same promotional people that were behind the Turtles were also behind some of the. I'll let Steve explain. Steve was a part of those years before I came on. I actually came onto the scene with Zen in '93 when Don Chin and myself co-founded Entity Comics. We had been publishing Parody Press for some time, and we wanted to do regular adventure sci-fi comic books. We didn't want it to be confused with the parody books that we were doing at the time. So we co-founded Entity Comics, and Zen #0 was the very first issue that we published together as Entity Comics. And that was also the very first appearance of Nira-X in comics altogether. So thankfully, thanks to Steve and Dan, I was able to introduce a lot of my characters into the Zen story.
That's cool.
That I continue publishing to this day. So that's another reason I'm really excited about this series. It's kind of feels like we're getting the gang back together again, like our characters and us, working together, kind of bringing back some of that 90s energy that we had back then. So we just had so much fun publishing back then. It's like, and doing it now is like that. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we had quite a heyday in the 90s, but we've been around continuously for like 37 years.
Oh, yeah, we didn't go anywhere. We've been working, so.
Well, how long is it? Forgive me for asking this because I'm not familiar, but with this book with Zen in it, how long has it been? A while since you've done anything with Zen?
No, oh no.
Okay.
Okay, now if I say to you First Comics, you may recall them. Most people think of them from like back in the 70s and 80s with books like Grimjack and Sable and Warp. Okay, but First Comics came back big time in the year 2011, and at that time we hooked up with them. Zen has been continuously published by First Comics, which is the number one First Comics, right? Since then, and most recently, we did a 6-issue series called Hard Bounty, which I wrote, and Marat Michaels, whose name you might.
Oh, Marat, yeah, he's a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
Marat did all the art on Hard Bounty. There were 6 issues. Most of them sold out. Then they put out a trade paperback. First printing sold out almost immediately. Then they put out second printing, sold out. And and this book, Bounty Wars, is the direct sequel to Hard Bounty that Bill and I are doing.
Very nice. So what's the synopsis of this book? What give us a bit of the story that the backers will get.
Yeah, okay. At the very beginning of the story, Zen encounters a character known as a bounty killer. This is a true, part of the biz. Bounty killers are guys who always kill their quarry, even if they could bring them in dead or alive. And the way they get away with that is they always tell the people that they hand them over to, the carcass over to, that, hey, the guy tried to escape, he tried to kill me, I killed him in self-defense, okay? And, Zen really is not too happy with that, okay? So he starts questioning his profession. He then consults through the ether with his mentor, who is Master Sattva, who raised him on the mystical planet Om. Okay, and Sattva always gives Zen, all of these pithy pieces of advice. And his advice this time is, well, Zen, you're such a loner. Go and hang out with some of your fellow bounty hunters and get to see more of your profession before you decide if you want to get out of it. So Zen does that. He goes to a bounty hunting lodge, and we meet a lot of different types of bounty hunters. And Nira-X shows up. She's a part-time like bounty hunter. And then this big war erupts between these two warring space lords who start hiring bounty hunters left and right for their own purposes. And this is the bounty war that Zen and Nira-X get caught up in. And that's how the story takes off.
It's good 90s escapism at its best.
Nice.
Just
You guys
good,
got a lot.
just good action adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm scrolling through just so everyone can see, some of the bundles, some of the tiers, and all that stuff. You guys got a lot of great looking art in here.
I love the sketch art pack. That's lovely. I really do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Kat's style. I love Kat's style. Her style. She's just got her own flavor of art. Her style always leans a lot more anime.
Yeah, a lot more manga.
My style. Yeah, a lot more manga. And she's got. I love her variant cover for the series is great too. It's look at that right there.
This looks good.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
The one that looks a little bit more CG there is that's a digital piece by Thad Rhodes, and I just have to point out, just because it is a digital piece, that there isn't any AI that's used in his art. He's an artist who's been doing things with us for the past 25 years or so. He's always done digital art.
His art style will get mistaken for AI usually nowadays.
Nowadays,
so,
yeah.
I feel so bad for him. He's like, no.
I know, it's like 2 weeks of his life trying to put that piece together, and it's like trying to get.
There's a lot of artists that are like that though, which is a shame because they're digitally painting, and they can do such great realism with it, and then you look at like AI, and it's like AI, you just you type the prompt in and it basically creates the same thing. But what, people. There are artists out there that can do exactly what you see AI is doing. So you do,
Where do you think the AI learned it?
That's where they stole it from.
Yeah,
exactly.
Posted online.
Well, let me tell you a little something about Thad Rhodes III. Okay, around 2005, a piece of Zen. He did a piece of Zen art for me. I sent it to Heavy Metal magazine, which, by the way, Kevin Eastman was publishing at that time. Mm-hmm. And Zen appeared on the back cover of Heavy Metal magazine, courtesy of Thad Rhodes. Again, this for people who are we have our hardcore of fans who know everything I've been talking about so far, right? But a lot of people are unfamiliar, and they what Zen was on the back cover of Heavy Metal. What Zen had a 6-issue run with Archie comics. Zen had video games, toys. A lot of people either know this or are just learning it now.
The history of Zen.
All right, video games. Let's talk video games. It's the you got NES games that were made, and we need to talk about this because there's got to be a Unity video game. Josh has to get that going. I mean, what was it like when it came to the point? And let's bring us up here a little bigger since we're chatting. What was it like, having your character now now you're in the realm of video games?
Yeah, it was astonishing. Everything that happened to me vis-a-vis Zen was astonishing and life changing. The Zen video game was the last NES 8-bit game that they produced, right?
The very last one, yeah.
And it's been rated very high because they were already putting elements like of the 16-bit into it. But if you go to eBay, you will see that game. I think right now, you will see that game, that one cartridge, it's on eBay. The price, $4,500.
Dang.
Okay. So the people who are really into these, if you want to term it retro games, they collect that game.
Oh,
and it's an amazing game. And that was and then there was a handheld, a Game Boy, and you can see if you go to eBay, I think there was like a couple of thousand Zen items that are currently there, many of which are pretty pricey. I wouldn't
Do
be buying them myself.
Do you think you'll ever make like an emulator for it so that you can like just sell it now, but we can actually just play it on the computer?
I think people have already done that. I think it's out there.
Mm.
Do you own the rights to the game? Do you have like the rights to the game to do stuff with it?
Well, I mean, Dan Cody and I own Zen, the property, and yeah, we can do. And there's a lot of activity going on right now, and it's great. I mean, it's when you consider that I grew up loving comic books. I read an issue of Superboy when I was 7 years old, and I opened it up, and some explosion went off in my head. It was like love at first sight, right?
Mm.
Cool.
And to think that many decades later, that's what I do. It's a beautiful thing. So comics have been very, very good to me, particularly Zen. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. No, there is a Zen emulator out there.
Yeah, there is.
Nice.
Yeah, you found it?
Might have to check that out.
See?
Yeah, there's a couple, but that one.
I'll pirate the
looks pretty
Zen
darn good.
stuff
I
now.
know. You found it on the
It's
Well,
like,
part
can your
of the
computer handle the full 16 bits?
I know. That's a lot of bits.
16 bits.
But it's a nice little historical thing though, being like
Yeah.
the last game that was produced at that res, and at that.
It's like back when
that was the last 16-bit game.
back when
last time it was-
Konami would actually allow different licenses to do it. They weren't doing, they didn't close off all the ports to other people making games through Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Mhm.
That's awesome. But so what's up? What else is for you guys now? So we've got this campaign going. You actually just jumped off because you had your campaign going. Now you've got this campaign going. Is there another one that's launching right after this one too?
Oh no! 2 at a time is more than enough.
It's too many.
I'm going to make sure that I get all my work done, get everything caught up before we start ramping up for anything else.
Yes.
So
Right, but we should explain. Bounty Wars will consist of 4 separate issues, i.e.,
Right.
4 separate Kickstarters. Each is a 25-page issue, so the entire story arc, when it plays out over the 4 campaigns, will ultimately be collected into like a 100-page graphic novel as well, I'm sure.
Right. So it'll be like a quarterly kind of.
Yeah,
It-
but
it
it'll
won't be
be
like one right
split
after
out a
the
lot
other.
further apart.
Yeah, a little bit of breathing room for everybody, myself incled, so that way
Yes,
we can.
so we can
ramp
actually
up
draw
for the
it.
next one.
What's
You
the
actually draw it.
fulfillment goal? What's the
Fulfillment goal for this campaign? The fulfillment goal is set for, let's say, late June, probably middle of July, to get all the fulfillment taken care of. Because what I would really like to do is start promoting and talking about issue number 2 when we're over at San Diego Comic-Con. So and that's at some point in mid to late July. So they're trying to time it for that. Hopefully the fulfillment for this will actually be a little bit sooner than that, because I think we've got all of our gears and our infrastructure in place really well. First Comics is giving us a nice bit of support and infrastructure as far as fulfillment goes, and it allows me to really concentrate on the creative and Steve on the writing. So they're taking care of a lot of the nuts and bolts that I would normally have to take care of if I was running my own, lone Kickstarter. So it's really nice to have a team that's actually supporting us and helping us along the way.
Awesome. Well, everyone, please take a look at the campaign. Both campaigns tonight. We checked out Zen Bounty Wars #1, and we checked out Unity Volume 1. So all those links are in the description below. All the links have been posted into the live chat by our lovely co-host Cara. So if you can dive in, you can get into this more deeply, read through everything that's there, go through all the tiers. There's a bunch of great stuff. Both campaigns are priced reasonably well. I mean, just great prices for what you're getting. So please take a look at all that. And again, always as I ask, if you can, copy and paste those links in your socials, share it out. We are in a new golden age here, people. The power of crowdfunding, the power of indie creating is at our hands. Anyone can do it. It's accessible now, and the sky's the limit. So let's continue supporting all the indie creators out there. And even if you can't back it, please share it.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
And we
Thanks,
support
Tom.
you. You doing such a great job, and helping this movement really become a world changer. So thanks again.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And we'd love to have you guys anytime you want to come on, please.
We will.
Oh, thanks, Billy. Yeah, much appreciated.
even not
Yeah,
even
for
the
sure.
big stuff. We're starting to talk about a lot of things going on in entertainment. You know, a lot of things we touched upon. What's wrong with the comics industry? I'm going to be putting together a retailer roundtable of what they expect or hope for 2024 and what they expect. But I think we could do that with creators too, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. And we really, because it's a conversation that has to be had if we're going to fix it.
True.
I like it, and I like the fact that we're all
Couldn't agree
staying
more.
connected a lot more often too. So
And Billy
this is
drinks
good.
a lot, you know, and he like tells us
I
about his life.
haven't drank since Saturday.
And, it gets kind of awkward, but it's still pretty nice. You know, it's camaraderie.
What did we do Saturday? Oh, my mother-in-law's birthday. Yeah, I was drinking. I had some wine Saturday night.
No,
little bit.
last birthday.
Yeah.
Nah,
It's a fantastic idea because it's a symbiosis, right, between
Yeah.
comic book shops and creators, and in a lot of ways, distributors take that symbiosis out of it, and they act as like they take the product from the creator to the store, and they create a disconnect between the retailer and the creator.
Right.
And I think that's a
And
fantastic idea to bring those two back together as a roundtable. Billy,
And
that's
Ned,
really
this
good.
is what we used to do in comic shops.
Yeah.
Sit around
I mean, let's get back to that, right? Because we love creating these things, and we want to give them to people who want to buy these things, who love buying these things. And those customers we were just talking about earlier, they're out there. We know seeing stuff like, the Energon universe was just mentioned earlier, and how that great that is, right? 60,000 new issues sold when Jorge Corona re-upped on Transformers #5 or #6. Like, people are out there. They want this stuff. We just got to get it to them.
Yep. I agree.
Absolutely.
And we have to get, comic shops too. We need to build up the confidence for them to actually even seek the indie guys and carrying their books, because they don't do that, right? Unless it's coming, if it's coming from the distributor, they'll take it. If you're local and you know them, they'll grab some books of yours, they'll buy them and sell them. But we really need to build up their confidence in the quality of books that are coming out from crowdfunding, self-publishing. Because I mean, those stories right now, I have to tell you, by far some of the best books I've read in 10 years have come from independent creators. And a lot of them I've backed on different crowdfunding platforms. Some I've discovered at conventions. I mean, Josh, is that something are you doing conventions with your books or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I want to have the whole thing done before I kind of start, taking it out and getting out there. But yeah, of course. I mean, I love conventions, man. Like doing the convention circuit and, meeting people and selling off of a table is awesome. And I think it's a way to meet some fans that you otherwise wouldn't, right? Similar to the disconnect between the comic store and the online Kickstarter crowd, right? It's all almost different people. So you got to go where they're at it. So yeah.
And the First Comics is a presence at Comic-Con every year. We have a booth there, and we're going to be at Level Up in Las Vegas in about a month. So we do that all the time. Absolutely, it's great to get out and meet the fans. It's this real great.
It's good to get out of the house.
Yeah, there's a good energy at cons. I mean, it's like an elevated version of going into the shop. Like people are real excited, and it's cool.
Bill had mentioned San Diego, and Mr. Stern, you were talking about Vegas. What other shows will you guys be attending this year?
Please call me Steve, no Mr. Stern. What they say, Mr. Stern was my father, right? No.
Well, I'm going to be at Tidewater Comic Con this year. We actually pared back quite a bit on our shows for this year, and we plan on kind of being a little bit more normal starting with 2025. So I've got like a sizable commission list that I really need to catch up on.
Yeah.
And between a couple of books that we're also working on, it's I kind of need to stay home and get caught up on that. So I've got Tidewater Comic Con and I've got San Diego Comic Con.
San Diego's the big
on the list.
It's like the big party for this year, and then we have to go right back and be like, we gotta finish all these books.
Then we go back to the cave, back to the dungeon, and make sure that we get caught up on everything. And then so that way, when I'm going to shows and I'm doing commissions for people on the spot, I don't feel bad about people on the commission list that have been waiting for a while. And I'm over here doing brand new commissions at a show.
And it gives us time to fill up our portfolios and our books too.
Exactly. I've been showing up to shows with an empty portfolio. I'm showing up with a pad of paper, so I need to kind of like stock up on original art and pieces like that too.
Yeah.
So
it's a very good problem to have, that whenever we make new art, people buy it up almost immediately, where it's just like, it's an absolute blessing. But I would like to have at least a little bit in my portfolio before I go to a show.
Yeah.
That way people have something to actually flip through and
Yeah.
actually be able to see what's going on.
Awesome. What about you, Josh? Any shows you're just attending or doing?
I mean, I like to go to New York Comic Con.
Nice.
I'd like to
Nice.
hit some in Philly, Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably in a similar boat. Yeah, for sure. I'm probably in a similar boat where it's mostly going to be next year. Yeah, because I just really want, like, I'm kind of laser focused on getting all 5 chapters done, and then like getting the print and like getting it out to everybody's hands. Like that's, kind of top priority. But once I get past that, I would certainly love to be out on the comic book circuit again, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I love hitting the cons.
I love conventions so much. It's like I love being a circus monkey there so much.
Yeah, it's fun. And you meet such cool people, a lot of the people, the indie
The
scene.
energy is
awesome.
unmatched when it comes to being in that environment where it's just like, oh, like it's like because people get so excited to see you behind the table, and then I'm excited to be behind the table, and I'm like, yeah. And it's like you get to talk nerd all day. It's the best.
For sure.
You get wasted at night.
With all the parties, all the con parties, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
con
part
parties
of
are great.
cycle.
I call San Diego, I call Comic-Con the 5-day endurance test. You need a week to recover minimum after
It's a
that.
triathlon at San Diego is almost not a convention anymore. That turns into like a straight up triathlon. Like
That's kind of intimidating. Like I've never even considered like having a table in San Diego. That just
it's because
wild.
It takes over the city. So it's just like at any other convention I've ever been to, it's just like, okay, it's like this convention center and like the hotel's right next to it. But then at San Diego, it's literally all of downtown is absolutely like coated in this bubble. And I'm just like, oh.
It's wild. It's wild.
I like with the air tags, like with the Apple air tags, it's like I put that like, okay, I'm gonna put that on my mom, put that one on my dad so I don't lose them.
Dang, yeah.
Put them in Bill's shoes so no one kidnaps them.
There you go. Duct tape them to me.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you all for hanging out tonight, sharing your stories, your campaigns, just hanging out and having a great conversation. Everyone, please check out those books. They're in the links below. They've been put in the live chat. Josh, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure having you on for the first time. Steve, thank you for coming on. Pleasure having you on for the first time. You guys are welcome back. And of course, Bill and Kat, you're welcome back. It's great to have you guys on.
Thank you guys.
And with my lovely co-hosts, Cara, Tucci, and Neff. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Chat was awesome. You got some great fans, Josh. They were fun in the chat.
Comments. I tried to stay away from looking at it so they didn't trigger me.
I wish you would have yelled, but maybe next time we'll get you to
we'll see. Next time, maybe. Yep.
Thanks again, folks.
All right, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hey everyone! Thank you for joining us on Pop
Thank you for
XP.
joining us on
If
Pop
you haven't
XP.
already, make sure to click that subscribe button, and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP, and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.